I will share a little bit about my story. I'm going to step up here because I feel like I'm closer to you if I'm not behind the pulpit. A little bit about my story of the last couple years of my life and what has drastically changed in my life. And then I wrote a few notes down of some points I felt like the Lord said, say this, this, and this. So I felt called to ministry when I was in college. And ministry has been my job. I have been working in vocational ministry since I was 20 years old. I am a really passionate person, naturally. I'm a really driven person, naturally. I love what I do. I'm so excited all the time that my job is to tell people about Jesus and help them grow in their faith. But over the years, I really have kind of poured so much of myself into the people that I minister to that over time I got to some pretty unhealthy places. And that might be surprising even to like my own kids or like my in-laws or, on the outside, I don't think anyone would have ever known something was wrong with me because I'm really good at my job and I have a lot of energy and high capacity naturally. My job and my work didn't suffer, or my relationship with my kids didn't really suffer. I just realized after almost 20 years of full-time ministry and kind of giving and pouring out to others all the time that I was absolutely exhausted and burned out. And probably the only person that could see the effects of that was my husband, Daniel, who would see that I would really kind of kill myself to do well at what I was trying to do at the expense of just my own health. So a couple years ago, year and a half ago, I got a sabbatical, and I got 3 months off. And at first, because this is my personality, I had all these ideas of I'm going to travel to here, and I'm going to do this fun thing, and I'm going to take this trip. And I had all these plans, and I could tell that the Lord was saying to me, I actually want you to make very little plans and do almost nothing. That sounded like torture to me. I also could feel that the Lord was telling me to take that sabbatical during the school year when my kids were at school. I thought, I'll take it during the summer and we'll all be free and we'll all go do all these fun things. And the Lord was like, nope, I want you to spend the school day every day by yourself, in silence while they're gone at school. That, again, sounded like torture. I'm telling you that because it wasn't until my life got really quiet and really simple that I was even able to hear what God wanted to say to me about my life. I go so much that it took 3 months of not working and literally making myself put my phone away, leave my TV off, and be quiet to be able to hear what he would want to say. And he said a lot. And I slept a lot. And when I stopped moving at such a fast pace, I realized how exhausted my body was and how stressed out my mind was. Now, I totally realized that nobody else gets sabbaticals, and you're probably sitting there going, well, forget her. Who else gets to take 3 months off work and just rest? But I didn't do with that time what I thought I would do. I surrendered it to the Lord and listened to him. And my story might not be something that you can relate to on every point, but I really hope that some of the things that I share, maybe you can relate to how stressed out I was. Maybe you can relate to my struggle to slow down, my inability to be quiet and do nothing, my struggle to make space to listen to the Lord and not just read my devotion, check that box, and kind of move on. There's a few things that I've learned in this journey to being a healthy person that I would love to share with you. And before I say that, the reason I'm sharing broader than just here's my points about how to practice Sabbath is because the concept of rest is so much deeper than just a weekly rhythm where you don't work on Sunday. When I first started practicing Sabbath, I was so exhausted from the way I lived my life that all I could do on Sundays was sleep all day because I was so tired and burned out. Now my lifestyle is a lifestyle of rest where I have these boundaries and these practices that I do every day of my life, most days, not perfect at it. So that on Sunday, it's not just a day of rest, it's also a day of rest. It's also a day of like celebration and joy, me doing things I enjoy, that I know God delights in. Sabbath is a lifestyle. It's a choice of how we live our life. It's not just not working on Sunday. It's a rhythm of trusting God's provision, and choosing to stop and resting in that. So here's the 3 things that I felt like the Lord wanted me to say. Here's the first one. My kind of journey towards health started with a conviction that I didn't come up with, so I don't take any credit for it, but I read it and thought, yes, bingo, that is true for me. And that is that I cannot be close to Jesus. I cannot have any kind of spiritual life or know God unless my life has regular silence and solitude. So for a person who never stops and has a million relationships, I had to learn that if I don't have regular times in my day, in my week, in my year, where I am silent for periods of time with the Lord, alone, intentionally, having time where I can actually settle my body down, my mind down enough to actually be with Jesus and hear what he has to say to me. Without silence and solitude, I cannot be close to Jesus. I now feel convicted about that across the board, and it's probably the thing. I supervise a lot of people, lead a lot of people in ministry, and it's probably the thing I talk about the most. If you don't have regular times that you're silent and still and quiet so that your conversation with the Lord is even audible, you probably don't have much of a spiritual life. I practice silence and solitude most mornings. This is how I start my day. For a while, because I really wanted to break kind of my addiction to work, I had a little habit where when I get to my office, I'd set a timer for 5 minutes. And before I open my laptop, before I start any tasks, I would sit in my chair in silence, just breathing and thinking about the fact that today's the day the Lord made, and he's with me, and I'm thinking about him, I'm mindful of him before I do any tasks. I have a meeting place with the Lord in the morning. I have a spot in my house that I go, and I light a candle just to kind of make me think of the presence of God, and I pick up a little wooden cross to think about, just to kind of tangibly feel like he's close to me. And I spend time in silence and solitude and centering myself in the morning. That rhythm sets me up for on Sunday when we practice Sabbath, mostly as a family. We invite our kids. We don't force our kids, but we do invite them. I'm not like a stressed out mess. I can actually enjoy and practice Sabbath because I've been practicing these little rhythms all week long. I really feel like we can't be close to Jesus or know God or have any spiritual life without rhythms of silence and solitude. Besides my daily practice, pretty often, like now I'm pretty in tune with God and myself, and I can tell when I'm like, I need some time alone with the Lord. I can feel it in myself when I haven't had that. I'm impatient. I'm sharp. I don't have energy for people or things. My family sees that for sure. And I can feel I need to pull away. I need to cancel some things and block off a few hours to go be alone with Jesus. That's something I would never have done a couple years ago. And now I feel it in myself so easily, like, yep, I'm going to cancel what I was doing on Friday, and I'm going to spend a day with the Lord. I also go away once or twice a year by myself without technology and spend a couple days, usually 2 nights, being by myself with Jesus, taking a retreat with God. And it's boring. It's actually part of it is to kind of be bored and like, what am I doing with myself? But it makes space. It creates space for me to actually be in touch with what's going on in me and give God space to talk to me. The second thing I felt like the Lord wanted me to say is to talk a little bit about how Sabbath is a practice that we can do, a choice we can make to actually show that I trust that God is the one that provides for me. I don't provide for myself. In the book of Exodus, when the Hebrews had just left Egypt, if you want to turn there with me, I'm going to read some from Exodus 16. Sabbath is a practice that demonstrates that I truly believe God is the one that provides for me. I don't provide for myself. In our super individualistic culture that totally values working as hard as you can, doing the most that you can, the grind, God has a system that's really different from that. It's really countercultural. And practicing Sabbath is demonstrating that I actually believe that it's God that takes care of me. It's not me. It's not me that provides for myself. When I stop, whether that's stopping like the discipline I try to have about going to bed at night, when I stop and I lay down and I'm like, that was enough for today. That's me showing trust in God that like today was enough. I can lay down and sleep because I know that God doesn't sleep. I can stop working really hard because God doesn't stop working really hard. And Sabbath is the same way. On Sunday, I can trust the things I'm tempted to get done today. When I don't try to get them done, I'm demonstrating my trust that God will take care of me. He's the one doing the work. I'm the one that's just in his rhythm. So in Exodus 16, the whole nation of Israel has just left slavery. And they're wandering in the wilderness. And they are learning how to trust God as their father. And they're kind of terrible at it. Kind of how we're terrible at it. And so God is constantly giving them these really practical ways to live life. And one of the things they complained about is they didn't have enough food. They're out in the wilderness like, we're hungry, God. Like, at least back when we were slaves, we had food. And so God provides for them, and he provides for them in this way that teaches them the beauty of Sabbath and the value of Sabbath. So in Exodus 16, verses 4 and 5, it says, the Lord said to Moses, look, I'm going to rain down food from heaven for you. Like, could this be any clearer? Who's providing here? I'm going to make food literally fall from the sky. And God said, every day the people can go out and pick up as much food as they need for that day. I'm going to test them. This is God speaking. I will test them in this to see whether or not they follow my instructions. Even on the 6th day, they'll gather food, but on the 6th day, when they prepare it, there will be twice as much as usual. So God is setting them up. You gather, I'm going to literally just put the food in here, just going to put the food on the ground. You go out and gather it. Day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5, day 6. But God was setting up this rhythm for them. On the 7th day, it was going to be different. If we skip ahead to verse 17. Let's see if they start doing this. So the people of Israel did as they were told. Some of the people gathered a lot. Some of them gathered a little. But when they measured it out, everyone had just enough. Those who gathered a lot had nothing left over, and those who gathered only a little had enough. Every family had just what it needed. Then Moses told them, don't try to keep any of it until the morning. So they're literally only supposed to gather one day's worth. Look at how he's teaching them to trust. You don't have to hoard it. You don't have to freak out about tomorrow. Tomorrow, more food will be there. Gather what you need for the day. Trust that'll be enough. Don't try to think ahead. So Moses told them, don't keep any of it till the morning. But some of them did. They didn't listen. They tried to keep the food till the morning. But by the next morning, it would be full of maggots and had a terrible smell. Moses was mad at them about this. After this, the people trusted, and they started gathering the food morning by morning, every family according to its need. As the sun became hot, the flakes of food that they hadn't picked up melted and disappeared. On the 6th day, they did as they were told, and they gathered twice as much as usual, about 4 quarts for each person instead of the 2 quarts that they were doing normally. And then all the leaders of the community came and asked Moses for an explanation. Why are we gathering twice as much on day 6 and nothing on day 7? When they tried to gather too much and keep it to the next day, it would rot. Except miraculously on day 6, when they kept it till the next day, it didn't rot. So the leaders are like, why are we doing this? Explain. And Moses told them, verse 23, because this is what the Lord commanded. Tomorrow, day 7, is to be a day of complete rest, a holy Sabbath day set apart for the Lord. So bake or boil as much as you want today, day 6, and set aside what's left for tomorrow when they'll be resting. So they put some aside until morning, just as Moses had commanded. And in the morning, the leftover food was wholesome and good. It didn't have maggots or odor. And Moses said, eat this food today, for today is a Sabbath day dedicated to the Lord. There won't be any food on the ground today. No food fell on day 7. You may gather the food for 6 days, but the 7th day is a Sabbath. There won't be food on the ground that day. Some of the people went out anyway on the 7th day. Man, they're really just like us. It takes a long time to trust what God says. But on the 7th day, they found no food. And the Lord asked Moses, how long will these people refuse to obey my commands and instructions? They must realize, this is key, that the Sabbath is the Lord's gift to you. That's why he gives you a 2-day supply on the 6th day. So there's enough for 2 days. On the Sabbath day, you must each stay in your place. Don't go out and pick up food. So the people did not gather any food on the 7th day. Okay, that was a long story. I think what we learned from that is, again, God is setting up this system to teach people where to understand that their provision comes from. He's literally providing everything they need. So it seems obvious to us when we read the story, who's providing. But even in our own life, don't we get twisted and think it's us? It's my job that provides for me. It's our job that pays the bills. I have to work hard. This depends on me. And God's trying to teach them from long ago, from thousands of years ago. This was his great plan. I'm going to give you this gift that you stop one day a week. And when you stop, you're literally putting into practice your trust in God. You're saying, I do believe that if I stop, food will come again tomorrow. And God will provide again tomorrow. And I'll work for that tomorrow and trust that that's going to be okay, even though I'm being still and resting today. I was sharing this, Daniel and I were talking about what I was going to share, and he was like, oh, that makes me think of, there really are like 2 belief systems. We either believe in ourselves or we believe in the Lord. And Sabbath is such a practical way to live out. No, I don't put my trust in myself. I put my trust in God. The third thing, the final thing that I felt like the Lord wanted me to say is that now in my life, think how to say it. For a long time, I was driven. And I'm done being driven. I just want to be led. And so I make decisions in my life, asking myself the question, am I making this decision because I'm being driven? Am I driven to make somebody else happy? Am I driven to be successful? Am I driven to do the same things for, put our kids in all the same things that other people put their kids in? Am I driven, or am I being led by the Lord and listening to his voice? What I think is becoming a life verse for me is in John chapter 10, and this will be the final thing that I share. In John chapter 10, when Jesus is talking about himself as the good shepherd, in 10:27, I think I have it memorized, but I still got to put my readers on. Jesus said, my sheep listen to my voice. I know them, and they follow me. That's what I want my life to look like. That I'm so close to the Lord. I'm walking with him so close that I can actually hear when he speaks to me. That I'm aware when he's trying to direct me or do something, that he's right here with me, so I'm aware of that. And that I would follow him. There's a lot of things that drive me. Like I said, I'm driven to do a really good job. I'm driven to make other people happy. I'm driven to do a lot of things. And the Lord has just said, there's no whip behind you. Stop being driven. Be led and let your decisions be made by that. There's a lot of ways that my family puts this into practice. And we're not perfect at it, but we are trying to teach our kids and teach ourselves that these kind of daily rhythms, these actions that we take, actually shape us and form us. I used to be formed by my busy, crazy schedule that made me feel really good about how many people I helped and how successful ministry was. That formed me into a stressed out mess. Now the rhythms that we're practicing are forming me into a person that feels, in a healthy way, really detached from the outcomes of my work. It's the Lord that is doing things. It's not me. So I do what I can, and I serve and give my time and my energy wholeheartedly, and then I stop when I should stop and trust that God is going to fill in the rest of that. That's just a little bit. Am I closing? No. Am I praying? What am I doing? I'm praying. Okay. No, we're very organized. I know what I'm doing up here. I'm praying. I do want people to think that. It's not true, but I do want people to think that.
It's a compulsive need. I get it. I have the same issue.
Yes, let me pray. Lord, thank you so much for being the kind of God that designed a way of life for us that's good for us. Lord, you're not driving us. You're not a slave driver. You're a gentle shepherd that invites us to listen to you and follow you for a relaxed way of life, a joyful way of life, an easy way of life. Those are your words, Jesus, that your way is easy. Lord, a lot of us are not living in an easy way. We're really stressed out and exhausted, and we are convinced that we have to do certain things because that's what everybody else does, or that's what people expect us, or we want to be successful or feel good. Lord, I pray today that any of us that are struggling with stress and overworking and being exhausted, that we would start a new journey of asking you, getting quiet and asking you, what should I do differently? How are you leading me, God? What do you want me to do, Jesus, with my time and my schedule? Thank you, God, for the ways you provide for us and teach us. Thank you for the chance to share. I pray in Jesus' name. Amen.